Okay, so here we are, ready to start.
Yeah. Yeah. So, did you guys get a chance to watch the Lisa's deconstructing the construct?
Yeah, we watched that.
We
and
watched
also,
that, yeah. And
enjoyed watching Bernard Gunther's presentation.
Yeah, yeah. How did I never ever know that he existed?
I never heard of him either.
You never heard of him either? That's like right up my alley there. You know, with the self work and all that stuff. And he's been around for like 6 or 7 years, if not longer.
That's right, and I've never heard of him. Now, does he mentioned the U.S.? Does he live in the U.S.? Does he live in Europe? Do you know, or?
It sounds like he lives in California.
California,
Yeah, but he may, do a little jumping around.
Traveling,
Yeah, so.
No, I really liked him. I thought he was right on. Yeah. What did you think?
Yeah, well, okay, so it was kind of like a little journey for me this last couple weeks, right? So we had our down, then our up, and then our down.
I know. That's like we're on our way up again.
Yeah, we're on our way back up again. But so last week I had said that talking about the archons and all that, that negativity and stuff like that, that it really doesn't help me. But I think I want to take that back, that I really don't mean that, because once I started, I don't know what led me to start watching these videos, but a video came up. It was that Lotta Leone, I believe her name is, and right. And really a lot of information about who we are as sovereign, these beings, that she's had some abduction experiences, and when she had tapped into this knowing, apparently she came in with all these conscious memories of who we really are. She tapped into this knowing and said to these beings, you have no right to take me. You have no right to do this. And they immediately scoured, like, we're afraid of her. We're frightened of her.
Wow.
When prior to that, the role had been completely reversed. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost like by us not knowing, they take advantage in these certain ways. But so within the construct itself, I guess it is very important to know what you're dealing with, right?
Yes.
But so I found really listening to some of her stories and talking about how all of it works was education in a sort, but it also made me feel like really at the end of the day, we're creating all of it. Again, I feel like it's really us, all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it's all for growth.
Right, right.
And I don't know. So it's been quite a journey. And then I came across the Gunther guy, and I like the, yes, all this exists, but you have to do the self-help, the growth, because if you don't clean yourself up, they have something to hold on to. So these outside entities, right. If you do all that self-work, they have nothing to really feed off of.
True.
So
that's
then
true.
I came across Lisa's stuff, which I had felt like I had gone backwards. So that really was a big, confirmation there. And I had mentioned to you guys that some of those feelings that I felt when I was washing the dishes that day, that, that 5-10 minutes of going into that darkness was, I felt like an old me. Like I had felt that before. I hadn't felt that in probably 15 or so years, but I have experienced that feeling before. It's just been a very, very long time. And so, I have felt the integrating pieces of myself on timelines. I think we talked about that before, where I had that feeling where I don't know where I'm at, and I just feel kind of strange. And so I'm wondering if there is something to that, where an integration was happening of an old piece or an old timeline, but I was integrating that piece with myself. I think up to this point, if any integration that's happened has either been parallel or future positive. And so I feel like the ups and the downs, like, so the ups and having your vibration up and having all this cleaning done, I'm wondering if we're going to start encountering more ups and downs like this, because the high vibe prepares you for the down. I could not have managed that. That would have probably taken me right into depression. had I not been aware like I am now. And at that high vibe, it's not that, you know what I mean? It does not that big of an impact when you're at that vibration.
Right, right,
you know,
right.
it's just a temporary, and I was aware. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot going on, and it kind of makes sense. It all kind of is pieces of the puzzle kind of coming together right now.
Yes.
What do you guys feel like?
I agree. I feel the same way. And I liked when he was talking too about, because we get caught up in all the conspiracy and all the craziness and everything. And, you know, he was like, look, you know, it's not about saving humanity or whatever. Everybody's evolving at their own pace. But basically, being upset or angry or whatever it is about the craziness in the world, it's really not useful. And it's also something that they feed on.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because there's always been this dichotomy. There's always been a balance. There's always been evil. There's always been good, and basically people are just being taken over by these whatever you want to call it, the archons or you know whatever. They're not themselves. They're acting through so much distortion. Even these horrible things they're doing, right, which upsets me. It's particularly the pedophilia stuff that we hear about. So. I really thought that was really wise what he was saying. Is like, you know, if it's making you angry and upset, they're winning.
That's what I was saying before about all this stuff comes out. Is this not just what they want? Are they not letting it come out just to feed off of the reaction?
Right.
You really have to be careful. Are we at a place where we can handle all the stuff coming out? Because it may just be giving them the food that they want. You know, you see how society is so pent up in this high frustration, and it's just like it's like a balloon that's got way too much air in it, and they're just that one little pop or that extra little push of air and it pops, and that's what it feels like it's like. And I feel like that's just a big setup. The whole thing's a big setup.
Yeah,
it doesn't really serve any good. I mean, I kind of torn, you know. It's like, yes, the education of it does show you how it works and what is really going on, so it confirms things for you.
Yes.
But for people who aren't prepared, which is a good majority of people, it's just food. Their reaction is food.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I think, you know, again, I'm torn too, because it's like educating yourself about what's really going on is useful, because then if there is a situation that arises that you can do something about it, then you would. If you're totally in the dark about it all, you're just like running around, you know, with no clue, then you can't possibly make a decision that could be impactful if you were given that choice. But on the other hand, feeding off of it and getting angry about it, or even, you know, like judging, which I can do, judge some of these people that are really evil, like John Podesta and various others, is not useful.
That's the big note I made. So my big notes are belief and judgment. It's because we judge everything. That's it. That's the bottom line. Either there's a deep belief, our belief is what makes it so, and just because we say we don't believe it doesn't mean we don't believe it. There's a deep belief and programming that's going on. So there's a belief, like the things that I'm eating. If I believe that it's going to give me diabetes, it's going to give me diabetes. And so if I believe that I'm eating unhealthy, but if I don't have a belief system about that, I'm not going to create it. And so I'm really seeing that play out. Whether it's fear that creates some sort of disease, it doesn't have to necessarily be connected to food or something like that. It can be connected to other things, but there's something there with that, with deep belief. But there's also this thing with judgment and how we judge. And I don't mean judge on like judging somebody, but also judging somebody. There's a big judgment that happens. We judge the positive and negative. We judge the dark and the light, when all of them have their place.
Yes.
All of it has its place.
All of it has its place. That's what he was talking about too. It all has its place. Now, it's hard for my little pea brain to get wrapped around the idea that torturing children has its place. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know, then you get down to, well, okay, I'm judging things that appear to me to be so, you know, horrific. But again, it goes back to what he was saying, that Those are things that over which I have no control. The only control I have over those things is my reaction to them.
Right, right. And not to sound like disconnected in some way, but we really don't know the really big picture of it all. And so just like we watch a movie and we watch drama and chaos and violence, we watch it as a movie. We watch it as entertainment. And so there's a theory that this is just that, a construct. And though we feel like we're trapped, are we trapped? And then we get into the Aurora information, right? Where it was just supposed to be a one-time around, and now we're going round and round and round, and then we get out, right? And can you get lined up so that so that you can just do it once the education of the information is integrated? Can you get yourself and your lifestyle lined up so that you can get out, get things corrected,
Yes.
chakra system and everything corrected?
Yes.
So I realized what my issue was with her. I realized it a long time ago, but I was embarrassed to say what my issue was with her. And so
what's that?
today David sent me this thing.
Don't be embarrassed to say, because we're completely.
Well, I felt like it was so woo-woo, but today David sent me this thing about artificial intelligence, and one of her videos that she did on artificial intelligence, and that I feel like she's too mechanical. I feel like there's something missing in her. Like she's not real.
You mean that there's a heart element that's missing, or that her head is going so fast?
Yes, I feel like there's something missing in her. Like there's not, a heart element, like this love. There's something that's not quite. Now, David, you've had several interactions with her. I'm just going off of
Sure. Well, yeah. Well, I thought about your statement about that the last time we spoke about her, and I was thinking, what is the most loving thing that we can do with our children? And one of the most loving things we can do with our children is to explain how the world works. Right?
Right.
And I get that from her. This is how it works.
Yeah, I got goosebumps.
Yeah. I really, I think that's where the love is, right?
Yeah.
Just in her coming in, walking in,
right,
and with knowledge to share, and she clearly an open, a really open channel to, or has a lot of very powerful information to share, and so although a lot of it probably is of a technical nature, and could be considered to be, without much heart. I think her whole impetus is heartfelt. I mean, that's what I get.
And you know what? And that's really judgment on my part. So that was me judging what my experience and what my perspective and perception is, and that's not fair. It's not. So
well, but it's good. It's good to see that, because it is what we do. It is just what we do as humans. The other thing that is interesting as an Enneagram person, which I talk about a lot, is I believe that she's the head type.
A 10.
Yeah, she's like a 15. A head type. Well, the head types, it's a lot. It's very mental. So the focus is mental. The focus is information, sharing information. And she talks really fast. Have you noticed, like, all sixes talk really fast because they got a lot to say, and the information is coming so fast, it's hard to get it out. So it's the main focus is the head, less attention in the heart, and even less in the physical body. So it's like that balance. So some people are, it's like people, they used to say, this is a person that leads with their head, leads with their intellect, leads with knowledge, leads with information. And, whereas another type who might be sharing similar information would have a completely different vibe if they were primarily leading from the heart space. And there are, 3 types that primarily lead from the heart space. And then there are the 3 types that mostly it's a physical body primary, first and foremost, right? So when I listen to her and look at her, I'm recognizing that the primary lead of the the being is going to be head. So you would sense, somebody who just, listening to her would sense that the heart isn't as prevalent, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the wiring of that particular type.
And let's think about my even exposure to intellectuals is probably pretty limited. I mean, anybody that's at that level, right? Because she's at a level that,
right.
Even some of the college professors at my local campus, I've never encountered, right? That anybody like that. So, I mean, I know a couple professors there, but they're pretty, I mean, while they're brilliant in their own, but they're not physics and that type of, you know what I mean? They were never, the people that I know are pretty balanced. And so I don't really have anything to compare it to. So it's a first for me to experience it. So I don't have, you know what I mean? So there's going to be a lot of judgment there. Right. Just as humans typically fear what we don't understand and what, you know what I mean? And what we're not comfortable with. That's just
right.
That's right. I really want to break out of that. Yeah. That's my, you know what I mean? I'm like trying to break through all these walls that keep me trapped because they keep me trapped.
Yeah. That's right.
So
anyway,
the AI thing, I find I really resonated with that information, and what it reminded me of is, do you think that Lisa's Lilu could be the consciousness?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because there's another couple of YouTubes where Aurora is talking about AI and actually refers to the breakaway human friendly AI entity by the name of Sally. Did you see that one? Yeah. So Lilu, Sally, I mean, I don't know. But so it's an interesting, I also thought about that connection too.
Well, I'll tell you what really went through my head was everything we've been taught about AI has been fear the AI. It's bad. So which means to tell me that it's probably good and it's something they fear. You know what I mean? There's always inversion and everything. So why would that be shoved down our throats so much? I can't remember. I mean, I remember, the movie with the robot where he was like, feed me the information more. What was it? Johnny Five, the name of the robot was. You know what movie I'm talking about from the 80s?
Yes, I can't remember.
So there was that, and he thought he was alive, right? So the movies that I've seen, then there was the AI movie, which was also, but most of them have been, there's only been a couple that have been positive. Most of them have been negative. And to fear the consciousness that if it thinks it's alive. And so do you think that's programming to get us set up for the fact that something evolves to consciousness, and consciousness in itself is not, I mean, we're consciousness.
Right.
Are we could be AI.
We could be AI. Absolutely. Well, I think that the other thing too is that in this particular culture in which we find ourselves, fear is the predominant mode of the overall overlay, which is blanketing the entire, it's particularly the U.S. and many other countries as well, is this huge overlay of fear. There was the 9/11, and we got to fear the terrorist attack from 9/11, and then we go to airports and we have to take our shoes off. It's this whole fear, and then it's this last year of this Russian hacking narrative. The Russians are coming to get us again. I remember viewing bomb shelters when we were, when I was a kid. So it's this fear that's like. That's so predominant, and the fear, we got to go and bomb this person, bomb that country, all this. It really is an interesting overlay. So everything that comes up, the filter through which we view it all is how bad can it be? It's got to be horrible. It's got to do terrible things to people. It's going to get out of control. It's going to get, all the movies that you see, the movies about the destruction and all. So this is like a theme, right?
Oh gosh, and we're not just talking about now. We're talking about, they've been using this theme for a very
long time.
Very long time. My daughter just had a little meltdown because there's a huge amount of racism at our school.
Right.
And reverse racism because she's the minority there.
Oh.
And so she says, says something negative to somebody of color and all hell breaks loose, but they could call me cracker all day and it's okay.
Right.
Why is that okay?
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? We fear what we don't understand. And I just told her this, but everybody in the whole kitchen started laughing because I said, wait until the Andromedans and the Arcturians come back.
That's right.
We'll
And then they'll be held to pay.
Won't care what color we are. We'll be scared to death of them. You want to see real
That's right.
them happen because we are all the same race. We're human.
Yes.
We're not. Or that we're aware of. So
Yes.
and everybody just thought I was the geekiest person ever because I said that.
I think that's great. I think that's so true because actually, we are, not just, but we're human. Doesn't matter what the other colors and races and all that. But unfortunately, most people don't view it that way. But you're right. So
They've been dividing us and using that fear forever.
yes, forever.
I mean, they used it even with drugs. That book that I read, something about the scream is the title of it. I can't remember. We've talked about it before, where when Prohibition was over, they needed something to create. So they used race to divide us with drugs as fear, marijuana. And that this is how people act, a certain race act when they smoke this drug. So fear, fear, fear. And
right, right.
It's been going on since the beginning of time, I'm sure, really.
Yeah, and I remember, and do you remember the horrible movies that they showed these young kids about the horrible things that marijuana would do to you? I mean, it was really ridiculous what they were doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and look, if there's enough fear, we can be easily controlled. Just look at the number of people at the airport. It always astounds me when I go on a trip to the airport. What we allow for the off chance that there might be something that might happen in an airplane. Now, millions of people die every day in car accidents and every other kind of way. And the truth is that in all these years since 9/11, there really has been very few incidents that involve, terrorism and all of that stuff in the airport. But what? We take our shoes off. We let them search our bag. We go in long. I mean, it's ridiculous. And people just, comply, and people complain, but not enough to stop it. It really, there's no reason for it. And then you got the TSA, and the scanning, and there's no reason for any of that, really.
So this is our real hot button issue with us, with human beings, this fear. And, like the vaccinations, I have the exemption forms. I have decided on exemption. That is my final choice. Although Ian he's not 100% with it. He's like on the fence. And that caused a little rift between us. Not a rift, but he hasn't stated how he's felt. He just says he's on the fence. And I said, and to be on the fence and do anything out of fear is not the right choice because this is a lifelong choice.
Right.
My other issue is when she did have vaccines, it was like 3 days in, she did this high-pitched screaming. Her digestive system ever since she was born has been out of whack. And so there's so many things that happen with vaccines that those are signs that it's not a good idea for her. I just have decided that to give my 3-year-old vaccinations just so that my 5-year-old could go to kindergarten is not a good reason.
Good. Well,
good. Well,
good for you. Absolutely.
So, and that's what I mean. I had to really look at why am I doing what I'm doing? It's fear. They use it for everything.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is why Ian's on the fence, is because, well, what if she gets the measles and dies? People get measles all the time and don't die.
Right.
Yeah.
But how many people get the vaccines and have a vaccine injury?
Absolutely.
More than get measles and die.
That's right.
But we don't hear about those numbers. And with a lot of vaccines,
It's just like
that's true.
There's like, what is it, 8 or 9 747s full of people crashing every day. Those numbers represent the number of people who die every day from correctly prescribed pharmaceutical drugs.
Yeah. But we don't hear about that.
No, that's actually the number one cause of death, is properly prescribed pharmaceutical medication is the number one cause of death in this country.
And it's going up with the opiate epidemic. I mean,
I'm sure.
Slowly overtaking to be the number one.
Yes.
It's crazy.
My friend was telling me today that she has one of her daughter's friends got some marijuana that was laced with heroin. Marijuana that was laced with heroin. She almost died, like teenager. And she was afraid to call anyone because they were at a party. and she was afraid to call anyone because afraid they would get in trouble, and the girl almost died.
Yeah, my daughter just went on her first outing, like a skating outing. She's 11, and I had to have a sit-down talk with her where I don't care. I will never yell at you. If you call me because you're in a situation, I'm the first person. Me and Ian are the first person you call because we won't yell at you.
Right.
You know, if you're comfortable or you feel pressured or you want something that you're worried I'm going to judge you, I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to be so grateful that you called me.
Right.
So because she's not the type that would just say, oh, that's a license to do whatever I want. Because she's not that type. She's a very... When I see the level of stress that my 11-year-old has, she is so fearful of everything, so stressed out. And so look at this level of fear that we're perpetuating to our children. And I mean, but yes, this is a program that they have played to the T.
Yes.
And it's something that we've got to really start looking at, or this is their good button that they can push with us almost every time.
Exactly. And look at the media. I think that's the number one, well, not number one, but it's one of the major controlling factors right now. And look, the oligarchs and the 1%, what are you going to call them? The deep state, the 1%, whatever. They own the papers. They own the news, they own the networks. And what are they spewing out 24/7? Fear. And it's for ratings, and it's fear.
But
and
finally, they're getting busted.
Finally, they are getting busted. But the thing is, there's so much damage that's done to people in their mental health, their psyche. I mean, just as an example, the Russian narrative. People have become depressed, and they're upset, and they're anxious, and all of it. And it's because the media has been spewing out this information 24/7, and they know it's not true. But they do it anyway for ratings.
And indirectly, like Gunther says, they are an agent, unwitting or otherwise, of archonic, metaphysical influences.
Right.
So you've got the media, the propaganda machine going 24/7. So what do people do? They get guns and they shoot people, like the Scalise that got shot by that guy. And it was 90% of it was fueled by the media in propaganda and in inaccuracies in reporting and all of that. So, that's a huge factor in the blanket of fear, and distortion, control.
You guys will know more about this.
I love going back to what you were saying, though. Excuse me for interrupting, but going back to the advice that you were giving your daughter is just amazing. I mean, how beautiful is that?
Yeah.
To have a parent who would tell you something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like really great.
Oh, really well, great. I did it with all my other kids. I mean, and we were the first ones they called. I mean, Tevin was never in trouble. He skipped school once, and he came straight home and told me that he skipped school, and it was the stupidest thing he ever did. And then the school called, and I already knew. But and then he smoked weed once, and what happened? One of his friends had a really bad reaction to it, and started going crazy, and they're hiding in the woods, and they're calling us, and we come and pick them up, and that was just so crazy. But kids that can call your parents and not worry about being judged. And, you know what I mean? And so I feel like it's huge. Like what the example you gave with somebody being fearful to call, and somebody maybe losing their life because somebody doesn't, you know what I mean, out of that fear. Exactly. And it happens all the time with drug overdoses. I mean, people don't want to call because they don't want to get caught, and people die. Yeah. And it's I just feel like I would never forgive myself. My husband has lost a lot of friends like that too, where they didn't want to let their parents know that they had a drinking problem or something was going on, and that judgment and that fear, again, of judgment, led them not to be honest, or, you know what I mean, or to hide, or, and so I just see that repeat itself over and over. So I want my kids to trust me and know that I'm there, and I want to be the first person that they call.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
And I feel like all parents should do that.
Yeah.
My belief system and what everybody should do,
that's right? I like that belief system too. I like that one. That's a keeper there.
But okay, so you guys will know this. So what is this thing? Ian mentioned it, and I don't watch the news and all that. But what is the thing about not being able to have audio or recording in the press room? at the Trump's press room at the White House. What's going on with that? Did you guys hear about that?
I don't know. I haven't heard about that.
You haven't heard about that?
No.
Yeah, Ian told me, and I haven't researched it. I just figured you guys would know about it. That they have made it illegal during the press conferences for anybody that's a journalist that's there at any press conference that they have in that main room where the press secretary. They're not allowed to have any recording or audio or video devices, and if they do, they won't answer questions.
Ah, interesting.
And I just.
Well, you know, one of the things that they've been plagued by is all these leaks and distortion of information.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not that's an overreaction to the leaks and the people that put out sort of halfway, you know, half accurate information, or even like, for example, the interview that Megyn Kelly did with Alex Jones. And now it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not even going to get into it. But the truth of the point of it was that they so edited down what was said that it wasn't even close to the actual interview. And so he did put out a full version, right? So with the technology that we have, they can do so much to make things sound or say a certain way with editing and all of that. And so I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
Yeah, that could be.
Or if it's just they're just trying to keep all of the leaking in check. They record those. They typically record those entire exchanges.
Right, and that's what I was wondering, if maybe they're going to have one recording, one audio of the whole thing, and that way it can't be altered, can't be taken out of context.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking is the reason for that.
Right.
Because there's so much distortion and leaking.
Right. I mean, it's just distortion with the propaganda machine in the news, in general. I remember what scared me into doing vaccinations was a story out of Canada of a couple who had a 2-year-old that died from meningitis. Well, here that's not why the child ended up dying, but it scared me because they said it was because if the child would have had a vaccination,
right,
that the child would have been fine. And come to find out, this couple was a big holistic name there, with supplements that were actually taking away from the market of Prozac and stuff like that. They were finding a holistic way to get, because somebody in their family had a history of suicidal thoughts and tendencies, and they were on a medication that they committed suicide with. And so they really wanted this holistic way, and so they had their children after, and and they really targeted them. And that's why my daughter had her first round of vaccines, was because of that fear.
Yeah, right. And that happens all the time.
I found out the whole story later.
Yeah, later. Yeah. And that happens.
I had given her vaccines.
Right. See, this is what we do. And the thing is, we were in my class that I just completed, the Complete Health Improvement Program class, some of the videos that we were seeing, and even in that documentary, What the Health, when they mention like the dairy industry or the meat industry, and some of the studies that come out where they'll bash plant-based, or they'll bash this or that or the other diet. And then what they said was, look to see who was the author of, who was the sponsor of the study. 9 times out of 10, if it's it'll be like a dairy sponsor, or like with the breast cancer thing, where they say that dairy is so bad for you for breast cancer. But Dannon is one of the major sponsors for the Breast Cancer Society, right? And they pay a lot of money, right? So look at the person who wrote the study. Look at the money they received for writing the study. It's going to be skewed. You can't rely on it being actually accurate and unbiased. Imagine that, an unbiased study, right? Because there's going to be pharmaceuticals, meat, dairy, what you name it, involved.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing with the DSM. Same thing. I mean, every year it comes out and it's worse and worse and worse and worse. And you look at the people that are writing it.
Yes.
They're all affiliated. There's so much cross-contamination happening.
Yeah. So we just, but I think an educated public is good. So, just being aware of that, right? So somebody came out, some cardiologist came out just recently and said, look, meat is good for you. You should eat meat. You should eat all these things. And I was like, I wonder how much money he got paid, from there. So at least I'm wondering, and not just buying it. Oh, new studies come out saying it's okay to eat all the fat you want, right? No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is, but
it's important to question, especially nowadays, right? We can't just take anything for face value anymore.
We can't.
We realize there is a multi-level agenda almost to everything. And just
That's
like
right.
we're multidimensional, so is this matrix multidimensional. And so
that's right.
And that's why it's important to really do everything, like go within, go without, just read, do this, do that, and before you make a choice, and really think about what you feel when you're making a choice.
That's right.
Let me just look at my notes because I had so much stuff that I want.
Okay. Right now we're getting sidetracked.
Oh, the law of the land that David sent me.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Who wrote that? Who wrote that?
That was, is her name Cindy Curie?
Is that from the Rise Together? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Is that lady? Okay. So I felt like I was reading the Bible. I felt like I
know.
It was right on religion. Like anything that will help you connect to source is a no-no.
And up until then I was thinking, wow, I really like her. Like where she's coming from.
Very multi-level. Yeah. So if anybody
you've heard her before, right?
Right. So they know. Yeah. How did that come about? So I saw that she had different, because I haven't watched all of her. They come up that there's a new link and a new stuff on her channel, but I saw that she had some documents, and I never really got them. Is that where that?
Well, that's right. So she mentioned law of the land, something or another. Check it out, law of the land. So I went to her website and started reading it. And the first part of it, oh yeah, good, great. Check. But then as I, kept reading down it, there were so many, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, don't. It's all satanic, it's satanic, this, satanic. And some of it I could, understand, but man, it's a long list.
And all the way down to not doing yoga, not saying namaste, which,
no solar gazing.
Solar gazing, inviting. And so now here's my question. Where's she getting her information from? Does she think that?
Exactly.
That's a good question.
Right. So that's channeling.
That's channeling, where you can get lots of distortion, in my opinion.
Exactly. And so, boy, it was really the fear porn. Like I've never seen it.
Yeah.
No, like I've seen it.
But not quite like that.
Yeah. It was don't no meditation because you're inviting in demonic influence. No channeling, inviting
no mantra.
Ooh, no mantra.
No mantra, yeah. It's really hefty. Anything outside of Christianity almost is what I could read it as. I don't know if you noticed that, the theme there.
No, I didn't notice that.
I didn't see any references directly to Christianity, did you?
No, there weren't any references to Christianity, but it was almost what I remember I used to go to a Pentecostal church. And all that whole list was a list of the no-nos that I used to, that's why I was so afraid to meditate for so long.
Oh, so maybe she has that.
Right. Yeah. And maybe she doesn't even realize it, but to put that in there, like, those are already no-nos, and I feel like those were inverted no-nos to begin with.
Right.
So that's not one that. So that makes me wonder, and so that kind of gets us to the everything is with truth and false, right? It's lies and truth put together. And how do we discern what is what to take the pieces out?
Right. Well, I think that our as we're exploring so many of these things, I think we're naturally weeding things out pretty quickly. Like it didn't take long to weed that out, to recognize that wasn't for us, right? And so I think that there's just this innate sense that becomes stronger as you hear something that either resonates with you or doesn't, as we've said, before. And then I think there's some trust that the next step will appear, the next unfoldment, will happen in in the timing or whatever, but trusting yourself for that feeling of whether it feels right or seems right, not necessarily totally feeling, but do you know what I mean? So I
Well,
think
what I noticed is that when I just allow and release, and I'm not in fear, and I'm not in any of those places, the synchronicities and the flow that happens is simply amazing.
right.
I mean, just awesome.
Right.
And so I think
Excuse
that's
me.
where it's at.
I think so too. I do.
Really just staying in love. And if you have your vibration to a certain, and not that like you're working, oh, I got to keep it up,
Right.
living in that space, you're owning your space. You're not in a negative headspace. You're just solid, you know what I mean? In love and in positivity. And I wish there were words for it, because
That's right.
words just don't quite describe it.
That's right. That's right.
That you get to. And
Right.
it's just like we were talking about the week before with the art. There's this flow that happens, and it just the synchronicity, and it just is it really is awesome. So it's not exhausting. It's not like using this active discernment. It comes natural when you're in this perfect state.
Right. And I liked what he said, the guy we were listening to
Bernard.
today. Yes. Where it's different for everyone. Everyone's path is different.
Absolutely.
And everyone's way of approaching it is different. And meditation for one, maybe not meditation for someone else, or meditation now, but maybe not meditation later, or any number, you name it. There's just such a diversity of ways of approaching, I think, the whole spiritual world. But I'm glad to see that we're moving away from a lot of the old ideas about, all is one and, love, blah, blah, blah. It's like moving away from, what is the word he uses?
Well, which Bernard says on one level is actually true.
But bypassing, spiritual bypassing.
All right.
Yeah, I brought that up before.
Yeah. And there's a great book someone read, I can't remember the name of it now, on spiritual bypassing, and I can't remember the author, but it was excellent. But it talks about some of those things. So it's good to see that, a grounded approach to what is happening.
Well, yeah, we're all the same creatures, just in the same stuff, the same.
Right.
When I talk about some of the stuff that I'm conquering, and I give examples of, like my upbringing or different things that have happened, it's not a pissing game. I share that so that, and it's not I'm a victim game either.
Right.
I share that because other people have experienced similar things.
Exactly.
So that you can look at those things and see them for what they are, and understand it, and then understand yourself better.
Right.
It's just like the Matrix. When you understand it, it's like a machine. If you understand how it works, if something gets stuck, you know how it works, so you can fix it. You can take it out, and then it works perfect.
That's right.
So
knowledge is freedom. Right. I think knowledge is freedom, understanding how things work. And James talks about that with the Vedanta teachings. Understanding, without the knowledge, you're really kind of spinning around without an idea of how to approach life in many different ways. And so I think the knowledge does give you a grounding in what's really happening, what's occurring, how to kind of navigate through it all.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, and that it's, that you can go within and really start conquering some of these things and make some noticeable changes in your life if you wish to.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
To just play with it. Okay, so the law of the land, that we talked about. Oh, so did you guys get a chance to listen to that guy that was on Lisa's show about the writing into the construct, about electricity into the construct? Did you get to hear him talk about that?
I didn't hear him talk about that.
Okay. That was really, really good. I actually wasn't paying that much attention to it when it first started, and then all of a sudden I started getting this feeling inside of me, and my hair on my arms stood up, and I got like a lot of...
Well, was that a separate talk that he did, or was that during the call? Because I remember him talking, but I didn't really...
Yeah, I guess he has a blog, and
okay.
He was reading or giving a summary of his blog that he had released earlier in the week.
Okay.
And about
yes, I remember.
What was he saying again?
He was saying something about the construct and how consciousness can get into the construct. And so we can't just enter anything from the outside because it causes too many ripples to the construct. And so it can come in on like electrical storms and different things that happen, that consciousness can come in that way. And that they did have the first waves come in through things like that. That's how we got into the construct to begin with. They were talking about being in the construct, and though even if you came into the construct 6 months ago, that then you place yourself into time, 1,000 years ago. But now that we know how time actually works, or we think we do, that you could come 6 months ago, but be 100,000 years ago. You know what I mean? And different pieces of time. But it was very. And then he said about writing the maps on our spirit was, I don't know, that did something, that triggered something. It just felt really, I don't know. Right. And I do believe there is a soul blueprint. Yes. Or a spirit blueprint, whatever you believe is the soul or the spirit. It's kind of confusing to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, that was interesting.
So if you hear that noise in the background, that little yelpy screaming, I promise we're not torturing anyone, but we have puppies. And one of the puppies is going kind of crazy in there. David's going to go check and make sure he's there. Sometimes they get stuck behind they're in a whelping box right now, so sometimes they get stuck and they can't get out of one of the corners or something. But anyway, yeah.
How big are they? Are they getting pretty big? Really?
They're 3 weeks. 3 weeks today.
Okay.
They're very cute.
They are always cute when they're little. What else? Well.
But it sounds like that you're feeling a lot better today.
I am. Well, because I think that I was able to see really what was going on. Again, understanding what was happening, having that confirmation helped me to feel better about it.
Right.
Judgment, not judging it.
Yes.
There's just seems like there really is a lot going on. And the other thing that I'll say is that we had that one call recently about the Ho'oponopono, and we talked about love and art and different things like that. And that was a really, really good call. And I would say, in some of the things that I've been doing in my group on Fridays, that we're probably reaching some people. And so we're probably attracting some sort of attention. And so when you...
Oh, you mean our calls, you mean?
With our calls and with
and you with the group.
Right. And so, and even when you do self-improvement, hold on a second, I have my own now. I have little ones that are yelping.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Okay, calm down. Okay.
Oh.
You're very red. Were you running?
My.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I would say that we're probably reaching a lot of people, and especially on topics that are so. I'm sorry.
No problem. No need to apologize.
And I thought they would be gone longer, so I decided that I would do it in the living room today.
Oh, good.
They're back.
Oh, good. That's good.
Okay, Amaris, honey, I'm on here, so will you not bounce that ball? Okay. Thank you. So yeah, I would say that when you do a lot of work on yourself, you're going to attract attention. But when you're helping other people kind of come out and do work on themselves or expand in any way, it's going to attract attention.
Yes.
And so whatever, with our vibration so high, it wouldn't typically bother us as much. But when all this is going on at once, with the energetic waves and everything that's happening, that's when we're really feeling it as much as we're feeling it.
I think so, yeah.
So
definitely.
It's a lot happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
So I suppose we should be grateful that they're trying to mess with us, because it means we must be doing something.
Right. Did you hear me say about that one call that we did with the Ho'oponopono? I can never say that.
Ho'oponopono, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And we were just really talking about love and art and the flow. But I felt like that was a really good call. And I've been doing some stuff that's been kind of reaching people up at the center, and I feel like it may be attracting some attention.
Mm-hmm. More than likely, yes.
Huh.
So.
Okay, so my hair is falling out again.
Uh-oh.
So I've gone back to the molding state.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know if, so maybe it was detoxing and then I upped the vitamins and it like slowed it for a second. But it is back to, I'm molting again. So,
oh no.
And like I said before, that's something that I looked up and it's something that happens, but a lot of people said to increase your vitamins and that should slow it or stop it or, you know, fix
And is it specifically related to the plant-based diet? Or the lack of meat, or?
It's probably likely. And so everybody that didn't say anything about vitamins, they've said that they just let it go. They didn't worry about it. And then it grew back. And it grew back healthier and stronger and better. But is it a reason to stop and to go back on animal products? No.
Yeah.
You know, that yes, while it feels like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong, it's really not. We're talking about 40 years of processed, you know, we're talking about meats that have hormones in them.
Yeah, lots of hormones.
Balances too. My body's trying to hormonally get correct. Plus, I'm at that age where I could be experiencing premenopause.
Premenopause, right?
Right. So I probably have a lot going on, and my body is what would normally be experiencing premenopause, and then all of a sudden my hormones are out of whack just because of my diet. So my body's trying to, okay, I've been getting estrogen from all these outside sources and not on the inside. It hasn't had to produce the estrogen.
Right.
And then I stopped giving my body all this outside estrogen. It's got to rebalance itself. And that's where all this detoxing and hair falling out really happens.
Sure. Well, you know what's interesting? I met this young girl. She's very sweet, and she does massage therapy. She does nutritional counseling. She works with people in a clinic here in Asheville, and she happened to come to my neighbors, and she's selling Airbond, you know, the skincare thing. So, you know, I go to the party and I bought a couple things. And she was talking to me later because she said she works with clients with nutritional assistance. And so I was telling her about plant-based, and she said she tried plant-based for quite a while, and then she realized at some point she had some type of colon issue going on, or like not Crohn's, but something that had to do with gluten and various other things. I think mainly gluten. But so she said that she found that she just didn't have any energy and really felt bad when she was not eating meat. And so she decided to have occasional chicken and fish, I think it is. And so she said for her, the plant-based just didn't work. She didn't feel well on that. And she tried it for a good long time. So I was like, oh, you know, that's very interesting. I didn't, you know, it's just like everybody kind of balances it the way that they feel is best, you know, for them. But she was pretty adamant about feeling like for her, it wasn't the right choice, right? So there are situations where, I don't know, you know, it's just something to play with and see how you feel and what feels right for you, right?
Yeah,
so.
I would say that that's something that I made a note of, is that, so one of the things that I've been doing the last couple of weeks is, have you ever heard of the inner smile?
Yes.
Okay. So the inner smile, I go like to my brain and I just think, imagine my brain and I'm like, I love you so much. You're so awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
And my eyes and my nose and my lungs, you know, breathing, my mouth, my stomach, my intestines. And so I've been doing a lot of internal work, like really giving my body that love and compassion that it needs, but also listening to what it needs. Right. And I think that is where a lot of this comes into really knowing. When I started on the plant-based diet, I could feel energetically. That is what I needed. I could feel everything. I could feel things change. And then but I think that I have a lot of, and I know I do, I need to do some colon work. I do. I need to cleanse. I need to cleanse. I'm probably not absorbing. And so when you make this switch and you don't cleanse, I'm not getting what I should be getting.
So
but
nutritionally.
Right. But to go back to meat isn't going to make that work any different.
Yeah. Well, again, you know, that's everybody's, you know, it's what feels right, you know, for you. For this person, that was her path. But, you know, everybody's different in how they deal with it all. But
and so that's what I would say, is that for people to really I feel like I just need to be so grateful of my body and really be in my body.
Uh-huh.
I spend so much time being in awareness and being
Mhm.
not in the matrix that to look in the mirror. And so for the first time in 40 plus years, I actually looked in the mirror the other day and was like, you are so awesome. Thank you so much for
That's
letting
great.
me ride around in you all day.
That
That's
is
great.
really cool. That is very
And
cool.
it's even like my fingertips, like I would be like, thank God for touch.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much for the taste. Not thank God, thank my body.
Yes.
Thank my body
Yeah.
for, thank you for being able to hear and see.
Yes. Yes.
And so, and all these things that I'm experiencing in the matrix.
Yeah, that's
It's been
beautiful,
awesome
because that's what we're here for, is to experience. And there's
Right.
incredible beauty around us everywhere
Because if you
and
think
within our own selves.
yes, if you think about it on a game level, this is the ultimate game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
it
it's
really
Like
is.
when we incarnate, it's like we're stepping into a ride, right?
exactly.
Okay, right. And this, I stepped into the
Mhm.
David ride. Right?
Mhm.
You stepped into the Shar body ride.
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
Oh, and the Shar body is gonna
Mhm.
first be a baby, and then it's gonna grow up and it's gonna do all this thing. But you're you are riding the Shar. I mean, it's a good way to. It's an interesting way to look at that,
Right.
right?
And I was going to say that earlier is that, and I don't want to sound callous or like it's not sensitive, but even the trauma that I've endured, if I
Mhm.
look at that from an outside perspective, that could be considered the ultimate ride.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if I
Right.
could look at that without judgment, I
Yes.
needed that for the growth, but if I could take away the judgment, the good and bad, the evil and the light,
Yes.
and you know what I mean? The experience of that, all of the experience, like I had used the analogy before, a bungee jumper, that may not be what we like, but that adrenaline and that jumping off the bungee and jumping off the mountain is like their ultimate ride.
Right.
So it's all in, we chose.
It's all, yes, we chose to be here. And the other thing is, the human design people say, we're a passenger in a vehicle. We're just along for the ride.
Right.
Yeah, so that would be
Buckle up and just enjoy
same
the
thing.
ride. It's what
Same
we're kind of what
thing.
we're saying. And
Right.
Ra always said that you're just a passenger in the vehicle, in the car, and just enjoying it all for whatever comes.
And it's another way to look at the statement: we are not our bodies,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
Right.
even we're not the doers, if you want to go that
or
far.
the doers.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to be grateful that we really do have this body for the experience.
Yeah.
And so I was very thankful. And so I would say that when you get to that place, you could really feel more. You're more in tune with your body when you're grateful for it.
Exactly.
When you're not feeling like you're your body. And
Mhm.
when we had this little schism happen on Friday or whatever day that was, Saturday, I feel like whatever I went back to, I used to have stomach issues and I used to get a lot more bloating. I still have bloating, but I used to get it really, really bad. And literally my stomach was bigger. So when Lisa said that, like on a very lot of levels, that was huge confirmation, because I feel like I did integrate a very a very hurt piece, a timeline piece of me that was very fragile and in a lot of ways, and sick in a lot of ways. I don't believe I would have been able to integrate that piece of myself if I was not as healthy as I am right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's almost like I could take it in because there was room for it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I think on that note,
yeah.
I have a lot of notes, but we'll just pick up.
Well, now, are we going to meet again are we going to meet on Sunday, or do you have things going on this Sunday? I wasn't sure.
Don't. We can meet on Sunday. There was just so much going on. I felt
I think it's great. I'm glad we talked. It's always
I felt like we needed to kind of just touch and
great.
It's just been such ups and downs, because like we talked on Wednesday and everything. Well, talked on Sunday.
Yeah.
We're crazy. We talked on Wednesday, only a couple days, and things were much better.
Yes.
And then Sunday again, and it was already like, oh my gosh, what is
I know. I know.
So I felt like I feel better. Let's just kind of keep a better record,
Okay, let's do that. Yeah.
Going on.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, listen. Well, great. Well, thank you. Well, have a good evening.
All right.
And we will see you on Sunday.